fascinating story. I had to watch it all at once. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was that we got to see not only your professional life of your character, but also his struggle to maintain a personal life with his son in the midst of this massive murder investigation. Was that one of the things that attracted you to the script?
Yes, it was. Often with, crime dramas, it's all about the case. It's all about catching the killer. It's about the chase. It's about, guns and gore and death and all of that stuff. And obviously it plays into the story. But with this case, obviously being a cold case, there was, firstly, it must be a daunting task for an investigative police force team to open a cold case in the first place, because every single piece of evidence that they will touch, every piece of paper they will touch, has already been looked through many times, and they failed to find the killer. So that was very interesting. But what I loved about the story was it shows the human impact of what a job like a detective superintendent heading a cold case, the amount of hours and dedication and sacrifice that he puts in, and along with his team, the way they had to keep everything private. They couldn't tell their family, they couldn't tell their fellow colleagues, and how that impacts on their own lives and their own families. But one thing that Steve Wilkins, the character that I play in the drama, I met him many times, and a wonderful man, full of just so much information that helped me massively. He was always, he impressed me in a way that the job needed to be done, but he wanted his team to know that if there was a birthday or if there was a wedding, that they should go, because you don't get that time back. If there was a football match for their kid, go and do it, because he also had his own child. And the very difficult balance of work life and private life in a industry like the police force is extremely difficult to balance. And you see during the story how Steve Wilkins, my character, sometimes manages it and sometimes misses the ball and has to pick up the pieces. And so it really brought a human emotional level to the story, because it's not just all based within the interrogation room and the evidence, but it's also about what happens when they do go home and how they interact and how they balance all of that. And in the same breath, it was a very interesting journey for the family of the killer as well, which the son of the killer, who was yet to be well, he was already in prison, but to be caught and prosecuted for these murders, the damage that this son of his had gone through, and his life was ruined. So it really showed you the human impact of something when something like this happens somewhere in the world, the impact on everyone around, the families of the victims, the family of the killer, the families of the police that are investigating it. It affects so many people. And I think we really managed to encapsulate that and make it as much as an important storyline as the actual case itself.
Most definitely. That's exactly what I took away from it as well. When you first received the 3-page treatment for this show, you were filming a movie in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. What was your immediate response to the treatment?
Well, I was in Montreal, and I read the treatment, and it was it came from a production company that I've worked with once before. I did a 2-part drama called The Great Train Robbery, and it was a wonderful experience. And so I was always hoping that they would come to me with something else. And so when they sent the treatment and I read it in like 20 minutes. But as I was reading it, I didn't know about this case. It happened in 2011. The cold case was reopened in 2011. 2011 for me, my feet didn't hit the ground. I spent most of it in other countries shooting. It was the beginning of my film career. So I had to go and do my own research, because there are moments in the story, as you know, which are truly unbelievable. Just by luck, by chance, by just pure instinct and experience. And I had to go back and just double check that all this was not fictional. And sure enough, everything that's on the screen actually happened. And I think that's why it was so compelling for me as tragic and painful and sad as this story is, and the loss of life, it really did show the courage and determination of a police force and an investigative team, in the belief that they will find that tiny bit of evidence that was missed the first time round. And it really fascinated me, and I gave me so much admiration for the police.
This took place in Wales, and also you filmed it in Wales, and that's where you come from. You grew up there. What was it like to be back there?
Well, I have to say, I mean, when I knew that it was going to be shot in Wales and it was going to be a very high-profile drama for ITV, with a great creative team, a wonderful writer, a brilliant director who I already knew and had worked with before, and the production company, I knew that they were going to do something very special. And then to do it in my home, which I haven't really done that much at home in Wales, I thought it was an opportunity to, firstly go home, and secondly to tell a story that deserved to be told. And because of my schedule, we didn't get to shoot it in the best part of the year when the weather was nice, because where we were shooting is an exquisite place to holiday. But we were in January, and it was very cold and bleak, but very dramatic, and played very well into the storyline and the atmosphere of what we were dealing with. And yeah, it was lovely to not only be in Wales, but to be surrounded by an incredibly talented, capable bunch of Welsh actors who are all very accomplished, and to hear their accents, and for me to use my own mother tongue was a real joy. And it really did bring a sense of authenticity to the whole thing, because we were all Welsh, and there was a lot of characters within this team. And speaking to Steve Wilkins, the man that I played, the real true life Steve Wilkins, he said that there were characters within this investigative team, and every one of the actors really did find that vibe within each of these characters. And so it was a really wonderful experience, and I think everybody did a fantastic job.
I read that you said that the crimes that John Cooper committed were so heinous that not all of it could be included in this miniseries. Did you learn that from Steve Wilkins, or is that from the book that he wrote about the murder investigation?
There are many ways to tell a story about a true crime. We often see documentaries about murders, and you get to see, terrible police photographs of them in situ where they were murdered and blood splattered up the walls. But we felt that the story, we didn't need to go there for many reasons. One, there are many families, members and relatives of the victims that are still with us, and this is a very sensitive subject. Also, we knew that the story was strong enough and powerful enough that we didn't need to go there. The detail in which we describe the murders allows the audience to do their own picture drawing and build their own images. And that was enough. That was enough. And I felt like a very classy, respectful way to tell the story. And we're so used to seeing gore and gunfighting and car chases, but this story isn't about that. This story is about something else. And it's been very interesting to see how, the 11.5 million people that have now viewed it in the UK, which is an extraordinary number, by the way, I'm still in shock, how they got it. They understood what we did and why we did it in the way we did it, and that it didn't miss anything. We didn't lose any of the drama or the suspense. In fact, sometimes less is more, and we definitely it was as impactful without all that stuff. So yeah, it's I think I'm very proud of how we did it, and it was a very classy drama and done in a respectful way with a lot of integrity.
Absolutely. And now it's available for people around the world to see on BritBox, at least in North America for sure. I want to thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been such a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.